Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this webinar, Rebooting Your Finances for 2019 and Beyond. My name is Jason Butler, and I'm the Head of Financial Education here at Salary Finance. Salary Finance, we're on a mission to get people out of debt and into saving, and we offer products including affordable loans, which are repaid through your salary, as well as the ability to save money directly from your wage as well. Now, in this 30-minute session we've got today, I'm going to be talking to you about 4 key areas. First of all, the power of habits and how you can use those to improve your situation, getting control of your day-to-day spending and where to start and how to keep it up, making sure that you get the free money that you're entitled to, and a quick end of tax year checklist of things just that you might want to think about. And if we've got time at the end, I'll answer some questions, so feel free to put those through on the questions section of the webinar there. Okay, now what do we mean by sort of financial well-being? Well, there are 4 elements, and if you've seen these webinars before, you'll know I keep going over these. And essentially what we're looking for is for you to have security in the present, which means that you've got control over your day-to-day finances, that you've got security in the future, which means that you've got the capacity to cope with setbacks and financial shocks and things don't derail you, but also that you have freedom in the present, which means enjoying life, and freedom in the future, which means the ability to meet your financial goals in the future, which for many of us is when we can't or don't want to work, have enough money working for us. Okay, now money is a taboo. To a greater or lesser extent, for some reason, people find it really difficult to talk about money, and at least talk about money in an honest way. And that means that people either don't tell the truth to themselves or to others, or they won't engage with the subject. But do you know what? There's a lot worse things out there than worrying about money, and I'm going to help you to hopefully become more confident. And believe you me, if I can be good with money, then you can definitely be good. Now, as I see it in my experience, and I've interviewed over 1,000 people individually in my 25 years when I was an advisor, and in obviously the thousands of people I speak to when I do live events, there seems to be sort of 4 key feelings, negative feelings that people often have about money. Sometimes they feel guilty, perhaps they should be doing better, they should know more, whatever, and that's a sort of a problem for them. Sometimes they feel overwhelmed, there's so much choice and it's very abstract and you know, it's complicated, isn't it? You know, I can understand that. Sometimes people are embarrassed, they're embarrassed about what they don't know or what they haven't done or what they should be doing. And I see this quite a lot. People feel unfairly judged by others about their money choices or where they are in life. And you know what? We're all at different stages in life. We've all got different values. We've all got different histories, and we've all got different things that are important to us. And it's quite okay. So no one here is going to judge you. Now, for many people, as I say, what that leads to is that money is a cause of pain, worry, stress, anxiety, and therefore people just don't acknowledge that they're not getting the most out of their life because money's causing them problems. And what we need to do is break the silence, get the money issues and challenges and opportunities out in the open, so that you can, you know, enjoy life more. Just a quick word about the difference between money troubles and money worries, because I do see this as a problem for some people. Money worries are an emotional construct, in the sense that there's something that might happen that are concerning you, that voice at the back of your head or that feeling you've got. Whereas money troubles are real, they're the here and now, and they are really could affect you. You can't pay your rent, you're ill and you can't work and you haven't got an income. They're money troubles. Now, if you're suffering from money troubles, you can go to the Citizens Advice for money help with your day-to-day money. You do not need to suffer in silence. But for most people, if you're not suffering from money troubles, then hopefully we'll deal with some of the money worries from here. Now, if you can be better with money, it means you're going to worry less and you're going to enjoy life more. And I like this picture because they seem very carefree. And I think sometimes we forget, you know, if we can get back to being carefree like we were perhaps when we were children, then that's not a bad state of affairs to be in. Okay, now I want to start off by asking a question. And I want you to think about this because it's something which really I want to get to the bottom of with you, is what's the main thing that is stopping you from making better money decisions and financial decisions? And so I'm not saying you're making all bad decisions now, but what's stopping you? What's the main thing? Have you got no money to plan? It's so tight you can't do anything with it, or you find money a scary topic, or you're too embarrassed, no one to trust, or you find it too complicated and you haven't got the confidence, or you haven't got the time or interest. So click one of those. I'm just going to launch that now. That's coming out. Polls in progress. Choose one that suits you, and let's see what we've got here. We've got a lot of people on the call today, so it'll be interesting to see where we're at with this. Okay, I'm just about to close it. Is that it all done? Okay, close. Right. Well, 37% of you say you've got no money to plan, so I think I've got a plan for you as well. 6% find money a scary topic. 6% too embarrassed, no one to trust. 33% find it too complicated and you lack confidence. And 18% have got no time or interest. Well, I'm hoping I've got something for all of you. So I don't want to sort of set myself up for failure there. So let's move on then. Now, you don't actually have to have a real detailed knowledge of maths, figures, and finance to be better with money. I mean, it doesn't hurt to be good with numbers, but it's not the defining characteristic. And believe you me, I got grade 4 CSE at maths when I was at secondary school, and I had to go to night school to do statistics. But the point was, it's not natural for me, numbers. What you need to do is you need to understand yourself more and understand why you do what you do and what's important, okay? Particularly in relation to how you relate to money. So I'm going to share with you some of the ideas there. First thing I want you to do is I want you to forget about life financial goals. Now, that sounds a bit strange, doesn't it, when we're trying to be better with money? We should have all these goals about how much we'd be saving and so on. What I mean, I'm not saying don't have goals. I mean, if you need to and you want to build an emergency fund of £2,000 within a year, that's quite a clear goal. But for most people, you're putting the cart before the horse if you're thinking about goals, because goals are the outcome, and I'm going to show you it's habits that you need to be focusing on. So if you're focusing on goals, you're not focusing on how you're going to get there. Goals are useful to give you a general sense of direction. So by all means, have a general sense, or I call it, have a series of guesses about where you might want to go in the short, medium, and long term. But don't get hung up about not having goals or having to have these SMART goals. Instead, I want you to focus on systems, on your money systems. Now, what that means is your daily money habits and your daily financial decisions, okay? Because this is going to enable you to make a difference, and I'll show you how. The law of incremental change means that essentially, if you have small changes each day, over time they will accumulate, and you end up with what they call the exponential improvement. And so essentially, outcomes are a lagging measure, and most people aren't prepared to stick with, the daily grind, as it were, of things, because they're not prepared to wait and see results. And the best example of this was the British racing team. Now, we hadn't won anything as a nation for about 100 years, and the British Cycling Association took on a new head coach, a guy called Beresford. And what he did, he had a relentless focus on very small numbers of lots of small things that made a difference. Everything from the saddle design to the gels they used on their legs, to the nutrition, to the handlebars, to the training regime. And what he found was that if they could keep improving at 1% each day, those small improvements over time would gradually accumulate. And in fact, they did. And we ended up winning 60% of the gold medals in the 2008 Olympics. We won 9 Olympic golds in the 2012. 7 world records, and Bradley Wiggins is the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France in 2012. Now, I know there's been some issues with the British cycling team, with in particular Team Sky, but nevertheless, there's still amazing improvements. So I want you to take heart from the fact that small changes in your daily habits can make a massive difference to you, okay? Now, one of my favorite films, The Bourne Identity, if you haven't seen it, he's a special forces soldier who doesn't know it, and he doesn't actually know who he is. And in fact, he has about 6 or 7 different identities. Great film if you haven't seen it. Matt Damon, great actor. But the issue here is that your identity shapes your habits and vice versa. Your habits are normally in pursuit of your identity. So it's these habits with your identity, and if your habits aren't in line with your identity of either who you see yourself as or who you want to be, then you won't sustain them. Now, the initial beliefs and identities we have around money, they come from our childhood and the messages that we learn from our family, and then we gradually learn from our peers, and then our cultural norms, so what we see around us, the pressures of the peers and so on, the people we meet. Now, let's just think about this. you start with your identity. Who is the person I am? Who do I want to be? Who do I see myself as? Then you put around the processes in the form of habits to help you achieve that. And then you have the outcomes in terms of financial well-being. And so the thing to think about here is that think about your identity in terms of the person you want to be. So if your identity is someone who consumes rather than creates, then you're going to be drawn to spending rather than earning. Or if you feel that you're a victim and that you have no control over your life, then your actions and your decisions and how you react to things will be in light of that identity. So to become the best version of self, what you've got to do is continuously edit your beliefs and upgrade your identity. It's not a fluid thing. You know, who you were at 18 or 25 or 35 or 55. I'm 50 and I'm not the same person I was at 20. Thank God for that, you're saying. But the point here is that every action you take each day is a vote for the type of person you are or you wish to become. And as you accumulate all those small votes in the terms of your daily money habits, that accumulates, the evidence begins to change, and the story you tell yourself begins to change as well. So to change your identity as it relates to money, you need to decide on the type of person you want to be. You need to prove it to yourself with small daily wins. So for example, say to yourself, who is the type of person who has financial options and can cope with setbacks? They don't waste money, do they? They're careful with debt. They're thoughtful about spending. Yes, they do spend on fun stuff, but without feeling guilty because they're also saving or they're debt repaying. And they've got more coming in than going out. So let's now have a look at how a habit develops. So you start with something which is the cue, the trigger, the thing that reminds you of something. Then you get the craving, the desire that you want whatever this habit is going to give you. Then you have the response in the form of your action, and then you have the reward. So for instance, I used to make a cup of tea at 9 o'clock at night, and I'd think, oh, I'll have a biscuit. Now, what I did was I used to have 2 biscuits. So then I reduced it to 1 biscuit, and then I reduced it to a biscuit every other day, because I wanted to break that craving. But you see, the same thing with money. Are there things that you're doing, just you're walking past a coffee shop and you're just going to buy the coffee because it's what you've always done? And it's easy to see money leak out with all these little indiscretions. So this is not about not having fun or not having coffee. I'm just saying to you, you need to be very intentional. Now, this little fella is a chap called Denis Diderot, and he was a French philosopher who was around in the 1700s. And he wrote a seminal essay that said, what you buy defines your identity or is aligned to your identity of who you see yourself as, the stories you're telling yourself. And the more stuff you buy increases the likelihood of you buying more stuff. So in other words, it's a vicious cycle. If you become a heavy spender, you're likely to keep on spending. It becomes a vicious cycle until you've got no money. It's a bit like the gambler who keeps putting money despite losing. He keeps doubling up his bets. So let's look at 4 ways to build an effective habit. First of all, you've got to make it really obvious that it's a habit you want. Then you've got to make it really irresistible, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So this is not all about pain and denying yourself. You've got to have some wins here. Now, I've got just a few ideas here for your habits. This is not definitive, and you might have your own ideas, but here's one I love. It's always leave home without it, your credit card, that is. So never take your credit card anywhere if you can help it, particularly if you think you're going to be in an environment where you may be tempted to spend. People who have self-control and strong willpower tend to try and avoid having to use it because we only have so much willpower in a day. You could set up text alerts with your bank so that you avoid going overdrawn. I have a text that comes through if my bank balance goes below a certain level. Check your social media. When you're checking your social media, perhaps check your bank account balance. Perhaps commit to not using your credit card or spending any money on certain days of the week. Might be hard. Have a no spend day each week. I like that one. Never ever auto renew any policies or mobile phone contracts or anything at all. You know, make it that you've actually got to renew it yourself. For that particular reason, I always disable one-click buying on things like Amazon and online sites. Another thing, when you're thinking of making a purchase online, say to yourself, you could say, my habit is I always put it in the basket in my wish list and I'll come back. So it's, yes, I can buy it, but later. Things about perhaps preparing lunches 2 or 3 days a week rather than buying every day. So it's not saying you can't eat out, but perhaps just reduce it a bit there. Perhaps overpaying your credit card a bit more each month, Or even indeed, find out if salary finance could do it cheaper for you so you can get rid of it quicker. Perhaps sweep spares change into a savings account. Another one I love is what we call save more tomorrow. So say to yourself, I will always save 1/3 of all pay rises, bonuses, or windfalls. So that means that you make a pre-commitment to something that you always do. It's like a red line, not like the trees are maze or red lines, are your own red lines that you actually follow. Have a one in, one out policy. If you buy one thing, then you've got to get rid of something from your house. These are all things you can do. You can also stack habits so that you can stack a money habit on top of another habit. It may be that when you're writing your journal or your diary at night, or after you've brushed your teeth, you sit down and you reflect on the day. It could be whatever it works for you. So yeah, they're just some ideas for you there. Now, here's how to break a bad habit. First of all, make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult to do, which is what I mentioned to you, putting the credit card balance away, and make it unsatisfying. Now, this little system here is called the smart spending system. This is the one single thing that revolutionized how I control my spending, and it might work for you regardless of what bank you're with or apps or technology you use. And this is how it works. What you essentially do is you have 2 bank accounts, and you understand that you have 3 U's. You have the basic U for all your rent, your basic living costs. You have the future U, which is for debt repayment and savings in the future. And the fun U, which is the bit I love, for holidays, hobbies, all the, the coffees out and bits and bobs and socializing. And the idea here is at the beginning of the month, you move whatever pre-agreed amount you're going to have for fun U into a separate account. So in my case, I have First Direct pays all my bills and all my future me stuff, and 30% of my money goes into my Monzo account, which has an app. So what I then do is I'm spending down at the beginning of the month, whatever the figure you might have. It could be 300, it could be 3,000, whatever your number is. You're spending down the fun money to 0. Now, some months I get when I've actually still got a balance there, in which case I transfer it to my future me. Other months I'm a bit low and I may have underestimated, and we do sometimes overspend. We get that, and I have to make a conscious decision to move money from my future to my fun. But what it does is it enables me, without having to think too hard, to regulate my spending on a weekly basis. So what you're essentially doing, instead of just mingling all your money, you're separating it into the different priorities. And if you don't put money aside for your future you, then what you're doing is you're mortgaging your future. And there is an implication for fun. But equally, if you've dealt with your future you can spend the fun money without guilt or shame. And notice I've got more money for fun than I have for the future, because I think, that's just a nice way to think. You might want to change those percentages. They're not hard and fast rules. You might have to pay more on your basic housing costs. You might need to pay a bit less on future you, but they're just some rough ideas. So here's the question, next poll question I want to ask you. Do you think you could action that smart spending system with 2 bank accounts? So let's just launch that poll now. So it's either no, you haven't got enough income, or you're already doing the smart spending system, possibly, but you'd welcome some help, or yes, you need to work out what you're spending, or yes, definitely. So please vote away, and let's see what you say. It's looking encouraging. Keep going. All right, I'm just about to close the results now. Okay. Good. Okay. Right. Well, we've got 10% of you say you haven't got enough income. I'll come back to that in a minute. 37% of you, a third of you, are already doing smart spending. So well done on that. I'm really pleased about that. 18% possibly, but would welcome some help. And I've got an idea for you on that. Quarter of you, yes, but you need to work out what you're spending. Now, I find this is a lot of people. There's a lot of people who just don't know where the money's going. And 11% of you are, complete born again new smart spenders. You're definitely going to do it. So thank you for that. That's great. Okay. Now, first of all, I want to talk about free money. Now, who doesn't want free money? And essentially what I'm talking here about is pension contributions. Now, if your employer is operating a final salary pension scheme or is doing more than the minimum, then your numbers will be different from this. But this is if your employer is only providing the minimum contributions required to a money purchase pension, where they put money in a pot for you. So this may not apply to you, but for many people it will. Currently, for every £1,000 that you earn, you put £24 in a pension. Your employer puts 20, and the taxman puts 6. These numbers are slightly different if you're a high rate taxpayer, but it just means the cost to you is a bit less. Now, from April, the bad news is you've got to pay out a bit more money. You've got to pay £16 per £1,000 of earnings each year into your pension. But the employer is going to be paying £30, over £10 more, and the taxman's paying £10, which is £4 more. So in very simple, you pay £16 and you get £14 for free. So what I'm saying there is that when these new rules come in April, where you have to pay a little bit more in, you get more from the government and you get more from your employer. And if you're a high rate taxpayer, you pay even less because you get more tax relief. Now, because the personal allowances have risen, and because most people are sort of getting slightly higher pay rises now, you should still have more take-home pay in your pay packet after these new pension rules come in. So the answer there, really, what I'm saying is, do not, whatever you do, opt out. And also, if your employer is prepared to pay even more, some employers will pay more if you pay more in, investigate that, because you can't get better than for every pound you put in, them putting more in, or if you put 2% in, they put 1% in. So investigate that, because it's money for old rope. Now, obviously, if you've got short-term problems or you've got expensive debt, that might not apply to you, and you need to look very carefully. But you can't get better than free money. Another free money booster, more free money, is the Help to Save account from the government. Now, this is available for people who qualify for family and working tax credit, or who qualify for universal credit and earn at least £542 a month, excluding their universal credit benefits. You can open an account, and you only need to qualify at the time you open the account. You can save up to £50 a month, but you can save less, and you can vary it from month to month. And the government will give you 50% of whatever the highest balance has been as that account, even if you take the money out before the 2 years are up. You can continue saving for another 2 years, as long as you qualified when you opened it. You don't have to keep qualifying. You might be earning more money. You can pay up to another £50 a month, and the government will give you another 50% bonus. So for outlaying £2,400 over up to 4 years, you can get £1,200 bonus from the government, risk-free, tax-free. That is a no-brainer. Even if you don't qualify for it, tell all of your friends who might do, because they only have to open it for £1, and then they've locked in the potential to earn that 50% bonus for the next 2 years. Another great site, Entitled To. This is a great website to help you work out if you're entitled to benefits. And I found out my wife was entitled to carer's allowance because she looks after her elderly mother, and she doesn't earn money from a job, and we didn't realize that. It's not means tested, but it is means tested in the sense of what you're earning. So well worth you looking at that to see if you're entitled to anything. Now, quick little checklist here, tax year checklist. Now, just bear in mind, if you're in any doubt, take personal advice or see an accountant or whatever. But this is just a quick run through. You've got tax-free savings allowances. But there's no point in using tax-free savings allowances if you've got expensive debt or if you've got other immediate needs. But the limits are all on there. The ones that you may want to look at is the lifetime ISA and the Help to Buy ISA if you're thinking about buying a property. But look very carefully, because the lifetime ISA does have some penalties. Additional pension contributions might help you if you're earning £50,000 or more to reclaim child tax benefit and or reclaim some of your personal allowance if you're earning even more. And here's a good one. Non-earners can contribute up to £2,808 and get £720 of tax relief. Now, so even if you outlaid £800, you'd end up with £1,000 in your pot, even if you paid no tax. So if you've got a non-working partner or you've had a period when you're not working, that's a good one. If you're able to make contributions, you and your employer, of more than $40,000 this year, then you can also carry forward unused annual allowance of pension contributions from the 15-16 tax year, and that one falls away when we get past the end of this tax year. Don't forget to utilize capital gains tax allowance of up to £11,700. Even if you've only got a couple of £1,000 gain in, say, a unit trust or something, you might want to sell that and put that in an ISA. You might have held that something for years that's gone up £2,000 or £3,000. You've forgotten about it. If you sell it and reinvest it in an ISA, and you could buy back the same fund, that would count as a capital gain. You can defer capital gains sometimes if it makes sense. If it's a large capital gain, or you want to defer paying it instead of cashing it in and incurring the gain before in this tax year, if you deferred it until after the 5th of April, you wouldn't pay it until January 2021. Another thing to look at is the use of any losses that you haven't utilized. Now, this is quite complicated, but sometimes capital losses are useful, and they can be carried forward indefinitely if they've been crystallized. But be very careful you don't utilize losses without utilizing your capital gains tax allowance. Salary sacrifice for pension contributions or approved share save schemes are very good as well, because they enable you, if you can get the employer to add the employer's national insurance that they would save, which is 13.8%, that can boost your money as well as tax relief from the government by 13.8%. So, you know, a £1,000 contribution will be another £138. Now, it may not be relevant for you, but if you want to give away £3,000 for this and or the previous year, if you haven't used it, that's immediately outside your estate. So that might be something you can add to a child or grandchild's junior ISA. And if you closed a savings account this year, it would crystallize the interest possibly within your savings allowance, which is £1,000 if you're a basic rate taxpayer, or £500 if you're a high rate taxpayer. But it may well be that you're already getting monthly interest, so that's not relevant. And you can give cash or assets to a charity, and you can obtain high rate relief if you're a high rate taxpayer, and or reclaim your personal allowance. And utilize share save and save as you earn saving schemes through your employer. So that's just a quick, it's not exhaustive, just a few ideas there. So what we're really saying with financial wellbeing is getting your present secure by getting organized, managing any debt you've got, being able to deal with a crisis. So then you can move on and set a new goal and prepare for retirement and other goals. So the value of saving money, if you spent half a day a quarter on being really intentional about your money, and you could save, for example, £1,000 a year, either by cutting out wasteful spending or spending more intelligently on the things that you still need to buy, that's the equivalent of earning £57,500 after tax, which is almost twice the median earnings in the UK. Because that's essentially, if you save £250 per working day, then that's what it's worth having. So do you think, this is my question to you, that you could potentially reduce your spending by £1,000 per annum? So have a look at the list there. Let's put it up here. So it's either no way, I'll launch that. No way, I've got no money. No, but possibly a smaller amount. Yes, but I lack motivation to make it happen. Yes, and I'll review my outgoings by the end of March. Yes, and possibly by higher amounts. Let's see what we've got. This is looking good. All bets are off. Going, gone. Okay, right. So we've got only 3% say no way. 25% say yes, but they're probably a smaller amount. 9% lack the motivation, 34% will review their outgoings, and 28% possibly buy a higher amount. So that's your take-home thing. I want you to look at that over the next 4 weeks, and I want to hear the success stories. So you can contact me via Salary Finance if you've got success stories there. You'll be very surprised. Other things we can do to help you. We now have a new Learn website, and I've created a whole series of videos and guides and all the stuff I think you need, but it's not overwhelming. There's 2 box sets. There's the Taking More Control, which is all the basics, and there's Creating Personal Wealth once you've got your basics right, how you build wealth. And it's far better than Game of Thrones or Grey's Anatomy or any of these other box sets. So you can watch those in your own time, and if you haven't got access at the moment, ask your employer. Now, here's the other thing is it's easier to do this sort of stuff if you can buddy up with a friend. So find a colleague, a relative, or a chum that you potentially could do this together who would help encourage each other. I call it an accountability partner. And you're not looking for perfection here. You're just looking to make some progress, and pick 1 or 2 habits that you think you can change. Don't make it too complicated, and give yourself some rewards for when you've achieved the results that you want, because it's small changes that you're looking to change. And as Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. I'm hoping that that's giving you some food for thought. It's only literally 30 minutes. I can't do it justice. Please do visit the website and let us know how you get on. If there's any questions, very happy to answer those. Oh, someone's got no sound. Sorry about that, Bob. Didn't see that. Let's just have a look at any others we've got here. Is the tax bits that you've covered family accounts? I struggle with family accounts. I struggle with Hang on, sorry, I'm just trying to read the tax rules. Yeah, there's various websites that you can go to there if you're looking to try and understand the rules for taxable accounts. Just one thing, if you give money away to a minor child of yours, you will be taxed on income arising over £100, but you won't be subject to capital gains tax arising in their name. But if your child's over 18, you won't be subject to the £100 rule. You won't be taxed on it as if it was yours. But the Money Advice Service does have a section on tax, so you can look at that there. Any other here? Will you be sending the slides? We're not intending to send the slides, but I will obviously check with our customer success people and see if we can make those available. I'm not sure if the slides are going to give you the smart spending thing, and all of our guides are all available in the resources section of the Learn part of our website. So a lot of the collateral, and I think we are looking to make available some of these webinars as well. So a lot of the resources, particularly the smart spending system and our checklists and our guides, will all be on the system there. Just look at last question here. Sorry, there come so many questions. Thank you for these. It's great. Would you recommend pension advice if just on an employer's pension, especially if you are in a position to be able to invest more in your future? I think that's what you're saying is how attractive is pension. Pensions are particularly attractive if your objective is to plan for when you can't work. You're getting free money from your employer, and or you're a high rate taxpayer. It's a good deal. But if you're younger and you're looking to buy a home, it might be that one of the other boosters is better. I have short-term debt which would impact my savings. Which would you suggest? Now, if you've got very expensive debt, the first thing to do is see if salary finance will replace it at a cheaper cost and a better payment profile for you. And if whether that you do or don't do that, you really want to be building up short-term savings in parallel with getting rid of expensive debt. And in fact, if you look at the box set videos on the Learn part of our website, you'll see that I explain all that to you in short 2, 3, 4 minute videos, how to go about doing that. So I hope that helps. That's all we've got time for. We could be going on all day. There's so many questions here. I really do appreciate everyone joining us. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you back at another webinar. And if you like what you see, please let your HR people know, and we'll be doing more stuff. And if there's any other areas you want us to cover, let us know.